In these problems, we are solving quadratics for x by factoring. And you're probably familiar with factoring already. You might have seen problems that are relatively simple, like this one, x squared plus 2x minus 3. And you probably know, you break this down into two factors, and you've got your x and your x. And the numbers that come after the x's, they have to multiply out to this constant term, and they have to add up to this middle term. So in this case, I would probably say a -1 and a +3. -1 and +3 add up to 2. They multiply out to -3. And then you could FOIL that out and find that you do get that. So that's a relatively simple one to factor. When you start putting numbers on the x squared term, they get maybe a little harder. And that's what we're going to practice here in these problems. Let's get ready to factor this first one. We have to set it equal to 0 first, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. We've got 3x squared minus 2x minus 5 equals 0. Now at this point, what I like to do is list all the factors of my leading term and of my constant term. And the list isn't too big here. The factors of 3 are just 1 and 3. And the factors of 5 are just 1 and 5. Although one of them is going to have to be negative for us to end up with a negative here. So when I set up my factors, I know one of these is going to be a 3x, and one of them is going to be just an x. And then the question is, where do I put the 1 and where do I put the 5, and which one's positive and which one's negative to get to a -2? Well, let's see. If I multiply 3 times the 1, I would get a +3. And if I multiplied 1 times the -5, I would get a -5. A -5 and a +3 would add up to a -2. So that's what I'm going to do. So I put the -5 here because it gets multiplied by the one without the 3, and I put the +1 here. So when you FOIL this out, 3x times x is 3x squared, good. Then I'd get -5x and +3x, that would add up to that -2x, and then finally a -5 times 1 would be a -5. So this factoring works. Now to finish solving, I can set both of those factors equal to 0. So I'd get 3x minus 5 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. And to solve those for x, well, I would just subtract 1 there. I would get x equals -1. Here, 3x minus 5, I'd want to add 5. Let me put it up over here. 3x minus 5 equals 0. I'd add 5. 3x equals 5. And then divide by 3. And we get x equals 5/3. All right, let's try this next one. This one actually looks harder than it is because you've got these fractions here. How are you going to do this? Well, I think what I would do is start by multiplying this whole thing by 4, and that would get rid of the fractions for us. Since we're multiplying both sides of the equation, it doesn't matter. It amounts to the same thing. If I multiply x squared over 4 times 4, those just cancel out. So that's x squared. And then same thing here, so I could just get -5x. And here, 4 times 3 would be 12 over 2. That's going to end up being a -6. Now I need to set this quadratic to 0, so I'll add 6 to both sides, and I get x squared minus 5x plus 6. And what I need to do now is come up with factors that multiply out to 6 and add up to -5. And since I see a negative number here and a positive number here, I know they're both negative. So what are factors of 6 that would add up to a -5? Well, that's pretty easy, 2 and 3. And then if I solve both of those, set those equal to 0, x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. This one comes out to x equals 3, and this one to x equals 2. And those are my solutions. All right, let's try one more hard one. This one's got a 6 on the leading term. So let me list the factors here first. So that would be 1 and 6, or 2 and 3. And our constant term is 10, so the factors there are going to be 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. So there's more to choose from, but it's not an endless list. I think we can figure this out. So let's see what's going to work here. We're trying to add up to 19. You know, I think I'm going to try 2 and 3 first and see if we can make something work. So I've got a 2x and a 3x. And let's see, they're all positive, So if I multiplied the 3x times the 5, I'd have 15x. And if I multiplied the 2x times the 2, I'd have 4x. That equals 19. So that looks like it's going to work. So I need to make sure the 5 gets multiplied by the 3, so I put it over here. And the 2 by the 2, so I put it over here. And you can FOIL that out to make sure it matches up. It does. I'm satisfied with that. And then we'll solve these by setting them equal to 0. 2x plus 5 equals 0, and 3x plus 2 equals 0. This one we subtract 5. We get 2x equals negative 5, divide by 2. And we get x equals negative 5 halves. This one, subtract 2 from both sides. 3x equals negative 2, divide by 3. And we get x equals negative 2/3. So that's a little bit of work with solving quadratics by factoring. My name is Larry. I'm a teacher at EdVision's off-campus. It's an online project-based school in Minnesota. If you're interested, you can check us out on the web at lovethischool.org. Thanks.